Hello everybody, welcome back to another update. Got some exciting news. My engines that I sent off for repair showed up yesterday, so I am now ready to tell that story. So you'll see on my screen, these are three, well, the one on the far right, the Union Pacific, and the one on the far left, the BNSF, those are the two units that I got sent off. The guy in the middle is my CSX that I have been running. Waiting for the other engines to show up. I just wanted to start off with this picture. I think it's pretty cool. I definitely needed to get a better picture, but I was just doing something real quick, just because I thought it was cool. But going again, here is the BNSF. It's the Kato. It was actually my very first engine I got back when I got my everything DC ready. This is the one that I clipped the wall, and I learned a valuable lesson is to be patient when you're doing this hobby, when you're trying things. Be patient, because it can cause issues. And I did clip the wall with this. It did cause some issues. I did send it to Kato for repair. They didn't charge me, and it did work better, but not as good as it was when I first got it. So if you want to call that a trade-off, so be it, but in the end it needed to be properly fixed. So yay. And a DCC decoder. This one is probably very easy to install the decoder, but since it needed to be looked at anyway, I thought maybe might as well do it all. So actually on this, the front truck had to be replaced, and actually the motor itself was experiencing some just bad running, high noise, and honestly I always thought it had a noise to it, but since I couldn't compare it to any other engine, since I didn't have any, I didn't know if that was normal or not. Turns out not so normal. Again, the motor, it's like $30, the truck like $15. Not terribly expensive, but honestly, if they need to be replaced back when I sent it to Kato, I would much rather have had them just charge me for the parts and had it done properly the first time. So, but now, runs great. Here is my Union Pacific. This is the one I got off Amazon through a third party. It ran good, but then the front trucks stopped picking up power at all. So come to find out, when the repair guy took a look, it was just full of hair. The only thing I can think of really is that there were times during this past summer when I went run for a while, and honestly I didn't think about what was happening to the track while I didn't run. So I believe what happened was that after those weeks when I got to run in it again, it was covered in dust, and I think they called it fine hair, and so it was the first engine that ran, and it just ate it all up in the front trucks. So since then, as I mentioned in my other video, I now have a little cordless battery powered dirt devil little vacuum that I now on a regular basis just run up and down my rail, and then I also once a week I'll just vacuum the whole baseboard just to get anything up. Yeah, and when I did, I don't know if I told you, but when I did that very first vacuum on the rails, it did pick up some dirt, some dust. So very recommend that you vacuum at least regularly. It takes a minute or two, and at the same time you can just be looking over your layout, seeing if there's anything that needs minor adjustments. So again, a very valuable lesson learned. If it sits, it needs to be cleaned when you're ready to go, because these things are so dang small. The hairs definitely add up. Otherwise, runs good. And this guy, his mate, his partner, his booster, it ran really good before it went off. But when I was looking at instructions to install the DCC decoder, depending if you got a newer decoder that was already insulated, you also may have to like cut off the light bulb on it. So there were some variables that simply I didn't want to deal with because I was already having some issues with the other two. I just didn't need to make a third issue. And since those two were already going off to be fixed, I just sent it along so you can get an overview and then get that decoder installed. So they all got Digitracks. This one and this one got the DN163K0E, and the BNSF got the DN163K1C. I just requested basic decoders because no sound. I mean, with the lights are lights, so they work. So I just need basic cheap decoders. And the place I picked, Engine House Services in Green Bay. I did a little bit of research, looked at forums. There was a couple other places that people recommended, but either they didn't do in scale or they didn't do repairs, and there was always something that wasn't either right or they simply didn't do. Found these guys. They are what I would call a full service shop for model trains. Of course, the one day I want to show you their website. They're having planned maintenance this evening, but they are a full-fledged hobby store. You can go visit. They have a online shop. Of course, here's all the details. But Engine House Services. I got them my trains. They arrived there at their shop on the 2nd. I was contacted same day with diagnostics of my engines. Clean, clear. This is what we found. This is what needs to be fixed. This is what needs to be replaced. And they had everything except the motor. So they said 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks for the parts to come in. And it came, they told me on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, it was ready to go. They used UPS. I got it yesterday, the 19th. So between the 2nd and the 19th, full service done, back to my door. Their communication was excellent. I actually contacted them, I want to say back in like October, just asking them about their services, and very good communication, very nice people. So I highly recommend them for your needs for either repairs or if you use, of course, shop, if you're lucky enough to be within driving distance of them. So much respect for these guys. They are now my go-to for any type of repairs, purchasing if possible. So there you go. They did a great job, and I did ask for them to return the old truck because I've never actually taken apart a truck, and I thought, well, what's the best way to do it is on one that I don't really need. And then I asked for the motor back because I really don't know what I look like. So they sent those back. The packaging, superb. I mean, bubble wrapped and then set in the middle of foam peanuts. Box was taped, real secure, unbelievable. So cheers to them. So I had the excited time of adding to my JMRI roster. So, making this bigger, it's not really designed for high resolution screens. Hopefully one day they will do a big update on their looks, but obviously it's not that important. I made the fonts a bit bigger just because I got all this real estate. Why not use it a little more? So I got my 4 engines totally added now. Even got the pictures you can see down here, the little snapshot pictures. I guess I can. Yeah, see, it doesn't even matter. I don't think that. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they run great. Obviously it's very easy to add them to the program. Having the multiple throttles open, you can resize the windows, no problem. So obviously the EMDs, they're supposed to run, prototypical they run in consist because the booster sits behind the main engine. I've done a little bit of research on setting up a consist, and it wasn't enough. I tried it a couple different ways, and the real issue is that even though these two are both Kato, they both have the same decoders, they pretty much have the same runtime, not that much. They just don't speed match. At least using the basic speed tab in the program. The B unit is faster. They have the exact same settings. The B unit is faster. It just accelerates faster, and it's just faster. And I tried to dial it down, again using just the basic values. So startup, I went from 5 to 4, 3, and I think I need like 4.5, something like that, but I don't know if it does decimal. Point is I looked into it a little more, and it does involve a lot of trial and error, getting that speed matching down really close to each other. And I know there's other tools. I know some people use, I'm going to call it a radar gun for model trains. It tells you what they actually would go if they were full size, blah, blah, blah. There's tools. But at this moment, I don't have a great setup with a programming track to just spend time to do this. And I just got them all back, so I don't need to spend a whole weekend or more trying to dial this down. In the end, it's not a huge deal to me, because they can run separate. So right now I don't have a train hauler or a yard hauler or a switcher, so quite frankly the B unit could be that. Or I don't need for it to be real or realistic. Let's be honest. So that's my current plan. One day I'll tackle it, but at the moment they're just going to run as separate units, and I'll look at consisting later. It's gonna be really nice when it gets up and going, but that is a future project. So one thing we all know, and I learn as I go, is that each unit, each train is different. It really is. Even if they come from the factory, same batch, everything's the exact same, likely they're not 100% alike. So obviously if they're different models, they're going to be different. Example would be, I've been running my CSX on my current layout now for a week or more, and I've had no power issues. It's ran. I made some slight adjustments to track as needed, but otherwise this just ran. And then I got the 3 back, and this guy, he would get a little angry about certain spots on the track, and I would watch it, and what I found out is certain spots on my track, because my layout, my baseboard is not perfectly flat, because I got a left and a right, and then a connector across the back, and they're not perfectly the same height. So even though the CSX had no issues, The EMD-9A did. He did not like some of the way the sections, the angles of them. Even, it was just weird. But pretty much when it died on that spot, I would then go and just slightly lift up where I thought the problem was, and then it would kick on, and then I would use, a little bamboo stick to then put that, that height exactly where it wants it, either a little higher or either lower. And I did this on 2 spots, and then it fixed it. It didn't stop there anymore. But I thought that was interesting that you look at it, it's like, well, it's not doesn't look anything special, but for that unit, it wanted it slightly different. And so that ran on it, and then I parked it, and then like the BNSF went on it, ran on it, it had no issues. So it's just interesting how every engine is just has its own little personality. Some are more forgiving, some are not. I can really see why a lot of people want those stay alive on all their trains now. So if they have a finicky engine that it says I don't like this one spot, but it can still keep going with that new stay alive circuit, I see why people are jumping all over that. So that was just very interesting. I believe most new DCC equipped trains do have those stay alives, so I don't think for the new generations going forward that's going to be anything that people will have an issue with. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. In a case in point going forward, so the CSX, I'll just bring up a throttle real quick. On my CSX, I would do the multiplier by 5, so 5, 10, 15, and sometimes I'd be running it up here, 40% maybe, and then sometimes 35, 30, but it was always up in this range. But then on the BSF and the UP, it's actually down here. Now, obviously, different decoders. The new, the stuff I just got, Digitracks, the scale trains. I want to say they use ESU. Actually, yeah, the lock pilot right there. So, I'm sure if I go into the actual values in the programmer and look at all that, it would make more sense. But just straight out of the box, factory, I thought that was just really interesting. How one runs up here and others down here. So yeah, we all know a lot of engines out of the factory run way too fast, and people run them way too fast. But otherwise, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So yeah, actually, so with the ones I got back yesterday, instead of doing like the ×5 multipliers on the throttle, I actually have this do one at a time because it makes such a difference. So I'm sure yes, I could go in somewhere in the settings and fine tune it, which I will have to eventually do for the 2 I want to consist with. But otherwise, it's just not, it's just a thing and not worth spending a lot of time on just trying to fix like that. It's just not a big deal. So I'm running on pretty much 98% of the track I have. And I do have shortcomings on it because it wasn't really designed for multiple DCC trains. So I just wanted to show my not that. Here we go. This is what I call the interim layout. So it adds a couple of things, like another crossover. That's and some more track. But otherwise, that's it. And what it does is it makes this side a little longer. It adds another side here, and then over here I add another crossover on the middle rail, and then I can then, so that makes one complete loop. And then the third inside is also a complete loop, but with a siding where I can store track. So that way I can actually run 3 trains in a loop at the same time. Right now I can only do 2 trains on loops. I like loops, so, and then you can park a train here, and then one of the guys that were in the inner loops, they can come out, run the main, and then this guy come in and run the inner lane or inner rail, inner loop. So that's pretty much where I'm at. This should not cost that much, and everything I would buy for this would then go into the semi-permanent layout down the line. So it's kind of like being able to refresh the layout a little, but at the same time helping to slightly spread out the costs of that semi-permanent layout. So we're still waiting for that Scales train, Iowa train. They said in that video like April, but they haven't updated their website. It's whatever. So besides that engine, I'm just focused on track. I'm fine with my rolling stock. Now that I got my engines back, I will bust some more out so that I have 3 trains with rolling stock. So I'll bust more out, but I'm really good on my rolling stock right now. I would love to get some of my containers, some more tankers, but that is way down the line. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So everything, every time there's an improvement. So now I get to learn how to run the multiple trains with my switches and my turnouts, and get the rolling stock out so I can really see what I have. So it's exciting times. It is exciting times for me. Learning as I go. So yeah, that's a very exciting time. Getting good. Alright, thank you everybody.